Warning, this video may contain spoilers for late parts in the game. If you plan on playing this at some point, turn back now. You have been warned. There's so much to love about this amazing RPG introduction. If you haven't seen my streams play through this game, I'll explain a final time. The first time I played the game, I reached the last level. It was nighttime when I reached it and decided to go to sleep for the night. While I was sleeping, my brother deleted my save data. This continued for months as I guess I'm a heavy sleeper, leading to 7 playthroughs of the game before giving up. Then in earlier 2020, I finally finished the game on my 8th playthrough. But I still say, even though I played 8 times, that this game makes me incredibly happy to play. Another story, while simple, was way more than I expected it to be. Through gameplay, humor, and style, I was able to truly like a Mario game. Yes, to be honest, I've never been able to get through mainstream games, starting with 64. Really through lack of my skill, but I generally don't like collectathon games besides a couple exceptions. Alright, let's get into the basics. So, the basics in this game aren't that basic. It's kinda complicated, not gonna lie, but you understand it after a while because unlike most RPGs, the defense is styled more like D&D with a damage defense threshold. You don't get conventional strength boosts that often, so your attacks only do a certain amount of damage. For example, say your attack does 4 damage. If the defense of the enemy is also 4, the attack will just negate, and if it was over, it would start doing damage. The way to level up is a little out of the norm, with experience being called star points, needing just 100 every level to level up. Although the experience dwindles in same areas as you level up. Also, your partner doesn't receive any experience, but you can upgrade them twice by finding shine sprites with a finite amount existing. Now, leveling up, you don't receive an overall stat boost. You choose one of 3 options: receiving more health, more FP, which is like SP or MP, or choosing BP, which is badge points. Leading to the next piece. Badges do a multitude of things, such as giving you new moves, increasing your power or defense, or changing the color of Mario's suit, etc. Through the game, you are searching for crystal stars, and each one you get gives you essentially an ultimate move. The only thing powering it being that throughout this game, you fight enemies on a stage, receiving fan power depending on how well you perform moves. Your moves being able to jump, use your hammer or an item, as well as being able to forfeit your turn and give it to your partner, which you can only use one at a time. Partners being useful in many different situations throughout the game, sometimes using the wrong one leading to your downfall. During combat, there is also a roulette that plays every move you do, giving you a little card that if you match 3 will give you the pictured effect. Out of combat, you gain paper abilities, being able to become flat and fit through thin spaces, becoming a paper airplane flying through the sky, and turning into a paper boat floating through the water. The really cool bits for me are getting to play as Bowser in Mario-themed levels, as well as getting to walk around as the kidnapped Peach, who communes with a computer. It all starts with Mario receiving a letter from Princess Peach telling him to come to Rogueport. Mario does so, meeting Goombella at the dock, who was being harassed by a red mustachioed man and a bunch of his underlings. You eventually help her out and she joins your team. Further into town, you catch up with Toadsworth, who doesn't know where Peach is, but they came looking for a treasure that was on a treasure map, which he gives you. Not knowing how to decipher it, Goombella mentions you should go to the professor in town. After looking around for a bit, you find the Professor Frankly. He shows you the way to a large door underneath Rogueport, Mario entering a giant ring in front of the door, his map resonating with it. This leads to the map changing, Professor Frankly deciphering that one of the 7 crystal stars needed to open the door would be at Petal Meadows. You arrive with the town in worry as you see a dragon flying to a castle. You go through the town and do a quiz that leads you to an underground portion in which you receive a sun and moonstone. As you make your way back to the beginning, a young Koopa named Koops joins your team in hopes to make something of himself and to avenge his father, who went to slay the dragon and never returned. You make your way to the top of the castle and fight the dragon Hooktail, who uses many dirty tactics during the fight before defeating him, ending the terror that Petal Meadows had been under for years. He coughs up the Diamond Star as well as Koops' dad, letting them have a short-lived reunion as Koops decides to keep on hanging with Mario. They travel back to the door pedestal, showing off the star and receiving the location to the next star being located in the Boggly Woods. The gang heads over, meeting Punio, telling them his plight that the X-Nuts had taken over his home and captured the rest of the Puni tribe, needing assistance. They reach the great tree in which the Puni tribe make their home, but it is barricaded off. Punio saying he knows who could help. You advance further through the woods until you reach a house where a wind spirit named Flurry lives, although she is unable to even show her face as she had misplaced her pearl necklace, which you find after fighting the Shadow Sirens, 3 sisters who work for the X-Nuts. Bringing it back, Flurry joins your team and literally blows a piece of the great tree away, revealing a secret entrance. Mario goes to the tree, eventually saving the Puni tribe and getting the Emerald Star, losing it immediately to Lord Crump, the mustachioed man you had met earlier. He sets a timer until the detonation of the tree, which causes you to race back to the entrance, meeting up with Crump and fighting him in his robot, becoming Magnus Von Grapple, which Mario takes out, actually receiving the star and saving the Puni tribe once and for all. The gang heads back to the door pedestal and you receive the next location, Glitzville. After a bunch of shenanigans to even get a ticket to Glitzville, a floating amusement park with a WWE-inspired ring called the Glitz Pit, which involved a Romeo and Juliet type romance and a Pianta Underground mob ring, the group finally arrives at the necessary location. At first, the group doesn't know quite what to do before they decide to enjoy the Glitz Pit, where they see Rock Hawk in the ring wearing the champion's belt, which just so happens to have the crystal star attached to it. They decide to join so they can win the champion's belt, proceeding through the ranks before they are stopped in the tracks by a duo who Mario is completely unable to damage. Going outside the pit for a breath of fresh air, you see an egg jumping around a hot dog stand. The hot dog stand owner lets you keep it after he was about to cook it up, and after a certain amount of time, the egg hatches, releasing a baby Yoshi that joins your team, beating the duo that had stopped the gang single-handedly. More ranks pass, as well as a mystery where you get placed in a room with only your team members as you get placed in the number 2 spot, awaiting your fight with Rock Hawk, forever needing to sneak your way into the ring as you had found out previously that the pit was some sort of massive scam with contestants disappearing left and right. Finally fighting Rock Hawk, you take out the massive chicken and receive the champ's belt, which it turns out has a false star. After the match, it gets really quiet around heading to the main ring and finding the owner Grubba with a giant machine that had been underneath the ring the whole time. Grubba reveals that he has been using the star to drain other fighters' strength, keeping him young and strong. Upon defeat, Mario receives the gold star, and Prince Mush, a fighter who had been previously drained, comes out of the machine, and Grubba's assistant reveals that she had been looking for her brother Prince Mush the entire time. Again, the gang heads to the pedestal, learning the next location, Creepy Steeple. A bit more shenanigans is involved in getting there, but eventually the gang reaches Twilight Town, wherein it is learned that when the bell chimes, the residents turn into pigs, with the villagers needing Mario's help. Mario adventures to the steeple, meeting a strange, sheet-clad man who takes Mario's shape, albeit without any features, just being a purple sheet of paper. Halfway through the fight, it turns out that the person had switched places, becoming Mario. Over a lot of backtracking, you learn that the only way to break the spell is to find out his name, teaming up with one of the Shadow Sirens in the process, Vivian, who is tired of her sister's torment. They literally find the letter that had been removed from the actual game, as well as his name, telling him that it's Dupless. He flees back to his steeple, challenging him one more time, having to fight his teammates as well, who were duped. After defeating him, the gang joins back together and Mario receives the Ruby Star. They find that the next place they need to go is Keyhole Key, arriving via a ship owned by Flavio and captained by an old sailor named Bobbery, who later joins Mario, that the gang had to search and convince to even come. During their voyage, spirits attack their ship, sinking it, leaving the crew and team to wash up on the island with no hope of escape. Mario explores through the island, finding a secret cave, adventuring through and finding the bones of the pirate Cortez, which reanimate, and he fights the gang. He goes back to sleep after his defeat, leading you to escape the cave with a multitude of people who had also got stranded inside before one of the original crewmates on Mario's journey reveals himself to actually being Lord Crump in disguise. Mario goes back to Cortez, who lends you a ship while coming along, and the group fights Lord Crump, destroying the ship and sailing back to Rogueport with the Sapphire Star that Cortez had once stolen. The next place they head for is Poshli Sanctum, receiving a ticket from the Save Piantas back in Chapter 3. They get on a train with a ton of mysteries going on that are actually quite interesting until they stop at a station they are unable to pass. Mario fixing the problem for a short time. Little do they know that they've been boarded by something as the train continues onward. This being captures all of the passengers and Mario is forced to fight it, defeating it, leading to your final stop. At Poshli Heights, they rush to a museum, a friend they had made on the train being the curator, who was holding what is actually a fake crystal star, before the gang reveals a hidden room that was hiding the real Garnet Star. During the game, Princess Peach had been able to contact Mario through email, as she had gotten to know an intelligent computer that had learned endlessly, actually falling in love with Peach but being unable to understand its feelings before finally revealing where they are located to Peach in an attempt to save her. This leads to the leader of the X-Nauts, Grotus, to delete the computer right after Peach had sent her message informing Mario that she is in the X-Naut base, hidden on the moon. This entails a whole bunch of shenanigans needed to unlock a door, leading you to adventure your way around where you've previously been. All this is in order to activate a giant cannon that had been decommissioned, launching Mario and Co. to the moon. The crew makes their way around the base, finding that Peach is nowhere to be found, eventually fighting Lord Crump for the final time in his Magnus Von Grapple 2.0, which upon defeat was being powered by the final Crystal Star. As they race back to the door, they learn that Peach will be used as the vessel for what is really inside the Thousand-Year Door, an entity known as the Shadow Queen, a witch who had ruled over the true kingdom of Rogueport that was sealed underground along with her through the use of the crystal stars, which had been spread across the land so as not to be found again. It is also learned that every 1,000 years the door weakens, which was able to let out a piece of the Queen who had given Peach the map to the crystal stars in the first place. The gang adventures through, fighting multiple enemies they've fought before-ish, like the Shadow Sirens, which are now joined by Dupless, Tails' older brother, and finally Bowser and Kamek, who I forgot to mention, but you fight Bowser in the Glitz Pit in Chapter 3. After the impromptu Bowser battle, you fight the X-Naut leader, Grotus, taking him out, but not before he is able to release the Shadow Queen, who takes control of Princess Peach and destroys Grotus in the process. The Queen actually offers a chance to join her, which leads to a game over. The other option leads to the true fight, which is relatively easy before she activates her true power, leading to an intense fight, which was down to the wire for me. At her defeat, she is once again sealed inside her tomb, and Mario has saved the world once again, as well as Peach. A good amount of time passes and Mario receives a letter from Goombella, who tells him that everyone is doing their own thing, and more importantly, they're all doing well. The paper style is really cool and was one of the big draws to me buying the game when it originally came out. This game also has some of the best humor I've seen throughout the games I've played. The combat is a nice change of pace with, to me, D&D style combat like I had mentioned before. My favorite parts of the game being Chapter 3 and 6. While I don't follow WWE at all, I do appreciate a good underdog story, as well as an interesting mystery. The soundtrack is pretty damn good in this game, the X-Naut bass being one big banger of a track. So I'm just gonna mention straight out, I despise the 4th chapter. The story in it is cool, but the way it was executed with that annoying backtracking in a rather difficult chapter was not good. Chapter 7 has it worse though, at least at the beginning. It is kind of cool to travel through a lot of the previous places you've been to, helping a little bit with the side quests. Pretty much my only annoyance. The rest of the game is a damn pleasure. There's a lot to do in this game. After this game is done, as well as stuff you can do during. including getting an extra team member. There's side quests that you can pick up in Rogueport from people all over the world, in which you can receive items or badges that can help a lot during the game. There's a gambling section that nets you some cool badges and items as well. Then there's the main side portion for me, leading to a secret boss, the final brother of Hooktail, Bonetail, who I've never gotten to because in order to get there, you have to go through the Pit of 100 Trials, which is right what it says on the box, 100 battles. Don't know when or if I'll ever get to that. Of course I'm gonna say play this game. It's so damn good. I had so much fun playing through the game, although I will admit I'm tired of the first 2 levels. Although I do like them, I've probably played them more than any of the other levels, as my brother deleted my saves at different intervals of where I was in the game. As always, thanks for watching, and see you next time.